morning, Mom. So I'm Salahuddin Aikar. So I'm the second reporter on Chapter 20 in Hong Kong. So, you know, in the introduction, no, so the topic is a context of surrounding a letter or by introduction written by Juan Luna. So Juan Luna is a prominent Filipino artist for and for Manuel Camus naman is a compatriot living in Singapore. So as you can see in Singapore, so yeah, back to the topic. So parang the in Hong Kong also discuss the journey of Jose Rizal abroad, a ship in 1891. So his interaction in arrival in Hong Kong and corresponded with his family, no. So parang the introduction is parang talking about kung paano nakapunta si Jose Rizal at interaction with his family. So bakit nandito si Juan Luna? So well, Juan Luna is a respected Filipino artist or figure in Spain in the broader European community. So gumawa ng letter si Juan Luna sa kanilang community in Spain for Manuel Camus. So Manuel Camus is a compatriot. So yun nga, parang yung letter is talking about a credential and facilities with his connection in influential individual in the foreign community. Parang yung letter is parang ang scope ng letter is parang sinasabi doon kung paano namumuhay yung mga tao doon sa specific place sa Spain. So the letter of introduction suggests that Luna, being deeply involved in since played a pivotal role in ensuring the success of integration of fellow Filipinos, especially the foreign territories in Singapore. Parang doon din sa letter na yun, parang nagsasaad doon kung paano makipag-communicate or pwede rin siya matawag na lifestyle or livelihood ng mga Filipino sa Singapore. Just like yung mga territories, kung paano nila nasakop, ganun. So, in the next part is the Rizal Sea Voyage. So, Jose Rizal's journey to Hong Kong in 1891 was marked by both tranquil condition and cultural interaction. So, parang yung journey ni Jose Rizal before he came in Singapore is nung napunta na siya sa Singapore is parang yung pagpapalaganap niya ng kulturang Pilipino, yun, parang yun. So writing to his friend Ferdinand Blumentritt on October 22, 1891, Rizal described the trip as heavenly. Yun nga, parang nung sumulat si Dr. Jose Rizal ng writing na para kay Manuel Blamen Treat. Parang yung letter is parang yung feeling ni Rizal nung nag trip siya papuntang Singapore. Parang he feels heavenly, parang mas parang okay yung trip niya, parang yun nga, parang he feel heavenly. Parang yun nga, yung weather daw is parang kalma lang, parang yung trip niya is parang dumadali lang din sa panahon na gusto niya, parang yun nga, heaven, like walang other errands na nangyari. So Rizal, only Asian abroad, impressed his European fellow passengers with his linguistic abilities and artistic skills. The journey gave him the opportunity to build friendship with missionaries heading to China, to engage intellectual exchange such as chess, games, Father Fudge, and Tyler's missionary. Parang kasama dun sa na feeling na heavenly is that yung mga fellow Europeans is namangha sila kay Rizal because of his linguistic abilities, where linguistic abilities, parang yung mga abilidad ni Jose Rizal back then is good daw, just such as gaming chess, yung mga intellectual change niya, parang very kung paano siya mag-talk, very wisdom masyado, like yun daw. So the third paragraph is the German ladies incident. So an anecdote during his voyage highlights Rizal's character in how he was perceived by others. At one dinner table, a strong wind blew through an open porthole, causing discomfort to the German ladies at the table. One of the ladies, unaware of Rizal's linguistic prowess, sarcastically remarked in a German that the man seated near the window should close Rizal. Understanding the German, quietly rose, closed the window, and then continued the conversation in fluent German. The ladies were surprised and impressed by the Rizal cultural manners, which transcends their preconception about Asians. This moment is significant because it challenged the racial stereotypes of time and highlights Rizal's sophistication and respect for others. Parang parang na-bother yung kausap niya na German, nakatabi niya, hindi naman din sa katabi, parang near. Tapos yung ladies parang unaware na si Rizal ay marunong magsalita ng German. Ngayon, syempre, as a Asian, napupunta ka sa ibang lugar such as Europe and specifically the German, parang, well, we have a cultural differences, no? So, parang na-off lang yung German ladies na, ay, ganun pala siya, or ganun yung way ng gawin niya to how to speak people, which is, yun nga, parang nag-lead to na stereotypes yung Asian because of Rizal. And the number 4 is in arrival in Hong Kong. So dito na siya nakasakay. Dito na siya nakababa, or nasa Hong Kong na siya in November 20, 1891. And yung mga taga Hong Kong na Filipino, parang he warm welcome Jose Rizal, particularly yung old friend niya doon na si Jose Maria Basa. Yan. So he took up street and established a medical clinic, continuing his work as a physician while maintaining a low profile. This period in Hong Kong was critical for Rizal as was re-evaluating his future and considering whether to return to the Philippines or stay abroad. Parang nung pumunta na si Rizal sa Street 5D Aguilar, doon na nakuha ang kanyang degree na physician, which is parang alam mo yun, parang napamahal siya doon sa trabaho na yun, na parang it get to the point na parang uuwi ba ako sa Pinas or magsistay ako dito. Parang is a crucial moment for Rizal that time in November 20, 1891. So the second is the correspondence with his family. Well, on December 1, 1891, Rizal wrote to his parents seeking their permission to return home. In the same letter, his brother-in-law Manuel Hidalgo informed him of the sad news that 25 Filipinos from Calamba, including several of Rizal's family members, had been deported. This news further complicated Rizal's situation as it highlighted the political unrest in the Philippines and the ongoing repression under Spanish rule. Hidalgo also mentioned that he was preparing a letter to the Queen Regent of Spain to address the unjust desperation. So, on December 1, 1891, yung parents ni Rizal parang nag-seek ng or nag-please na umuwi siya sa Pilipinas. Why? His brother-in-law Manuel Hidalgo brought a news to Jose Rizal that 25 Filipinos from Calamba and yung iba is parang kapamilya ni Rizal was deported. Now, parang yung news na yun parang pumunta na sa realization si Rizal. Parang it gets into a complicated situation knowing the fact that the Philippines is unrest in the Spanish colonial or still the Philippines is under the Spain hands. So yun nga, parang si Hidalgo is nag-prepare ng letter sa Spanish Regent Queen to unjust the parang para pwedeng hindi na i-deport yung mga 25 Filipinos from Calamba na yung iba is family ni Rizal. So I hope you understand my explanation, and sorry for the grammatical errors sometimes. And
my name is Nasmera L. Dading. In Hong Kong, 1891 to 1892, to elucidate his pet Borneo colonization project, he wrote an article in French entitled Colonisation du British North Borneo par des Familles de les Philippines, or Colonization of British North Borneo by Families from the Philippine Islands. He elaborated the same idea in another article in Spanish, Proyecto de Colonización del British North Borneo for Filipinos, or Project of the Colonization of British North Borneo by the Filipino. Upang linawin ang kanyang alagang project sa colonization ng Borneo, sumulat siya ng isang article sa France na pinamagatang Colonization du British North Borneo par des Families de les Philippines. At ipinaliwanag niya dito ang kanyang parehong idea sa isa pang article sa Espanyol. Ito ay Proyecto de Colonization del British North Borneo for Filipinos. In June 1892, he wrote La Mano Roja, The Red Hand, which was printed in sheet form in Hong Kong. It denounces the frequent outbreaks of intentional fires in Manila. So, noong June 1892, isinulat niya ang La Mano Roja or The Red Hand na inilambag sa sheet form sa Hong Kong at tinutuligsan nito ang madalas na pagsiklab ng mga sinadyang sunog sa Manila. The most important writing made by Rizal during his Hong Kong sojourn was the Constitution and by laws of the Liga Filipina, which was printed in Hong Kong 1892 to deceive the Spanish authorities. The print copies carried the false information that the printing was done by the London Printing Press, number 25, Klug Street, London. The idea of establishing the Liga Filipina or Philippine Lega, an association of patriotic Filipino for civic purposes, was originally conceived by Jose Mabasa, but it was Rizal who wrote its constitution and realized its establishment. Copies of the printed Liga Constitution were sent by Rizal to Domingo Franco, his friend in Manila. So, ang pinakamalagang isinulat ni Rizal sa kaniyang mga pamamalagi sa Hong Kong ay ang Constitution at bylaws ng Liga Filipina, na isinulat ito sa papel sa Hong Kong noong 1892 upang linlangin ang mga otoridad ng Espanyol. Ang mga nakalimbag na kopya ay nagdadala ng maling impormasyon na ang paglilimbag ay ginawa ng London Printing Press number 25 sa Klug Street ng London. So, ang idea na pagtatag ng Liga Filipina or Philippine Lega ay isang samahan ng mga makabayang Pilipino para sa civic purposes ay original na ipinaglihi ni Jose Mabasa. Ngunit si Rizal ang sumulat ng Constitution nito at natanto ang pagkakatatag nito. Ang mga copy na ito ay iniprint ng Constitution ng Liga ay pinadala ni Rizal kay Domingo Franco. Ito ay ang kanyang kaibigan sa Manila. Decision to return to Manila. By May 1892, Rizal made up his mind to return to Manila. This decision was spurred by the following. Ang number 1 is to confer with Governor Des Pujol regarding his Borneo colonization project. The number 2, to establish the Liga Filipina in Manila. And the number 3, to prove that Eduardo Dilete was wrong in attacking him in Madrid, that he, Rizal, being comfortable and safe in Hong Kong, had abandoned the country coast, led attack which was printed in La Solidaridad on April 15, 1892. Portrayed Rizal as cowardly, egoistic, opportunistica, patriot in words only. Rizal vehemently protests to Del Pilar, the editor to La Solidaridad, saying, I am more convinced that Lete, in writing the article, was too hasty and you permit yourself to be carried away. Friend or enemy, if the article has harmed me, more it will harm the interests of the Philippines. Who knows, however, if after all it was for the best, it has shaken me awake, and after a long silence entered the field anew. I am going to activate the propaganda and the fortify the Liga. Rizal Lives, Works, and Writing. To Cruz Rizal, confined on May 23, 1892, I am very sorry that Del Pilar allowed the article to be published because it will lead many to believe that there is really a shame among us. I believe that we can well have little misunderstanding and personal differences among ourselves, them public, as myself, always welcome criticisms because they improve those who wish to be improved. So, nagsabi si Pons na ipinagtapat ni Rizal noong May 23, 1892 na labis akong ikinalulungkot na pinahintulutan ni Del Pilar na maidlatla ang artikel dahil ito ay magdadala sa marami na maniwala na talagang mayroong pagkakahati sa atin. Maniniwala ako na maaari tayong magkaroon ng kaunting hindi pagkakaunawaan, ang personal difference among ourselves, them public as myself always welcome criticism because they improve those who wants to be improved. Last Hong Kong letters. Relatives and friends of Rizal opposed his decision to return home because it was like birding the lions in their den. His sister Trinidad tearfully warned him to desist. For here they will kill you. So, ang uling letter niya sa Hong Kong, ang mga kamag-anak at kaibigan ni Rizal tinutuluan ni Rizal ang kanyang desisyon na umuwi dahil para itong balbas ng mga layon sa kanilang yungib at maluwa-luwang binalaan siya ng kanyang kapatid na si Trinidad na huminto sapagkat dito kanila papatayin. So, not even the fear of death called Rizal from his decision. On June 8, 1892, he spent his 31st birthday in Hong Kong. Evidently, he had a premonition of his death for the following day, June 20. He wrote 2 letters which he sealed in scribe on each envelope to be opened after my death and gave them to his friend Dr. Marquez for safekeeping. In the pages of history, there is scarcely a parallel for these 2 sealed letters which were virtually Rizal political testaments. Kahit na ang takot sa kamatayan na hindi nakapigil kay Rizal sa kanyang desisyon noong June 19, 1892 dahil ginugol niya ang kanyang ika-31 na karawan sa Hong Kong. Maliwanag siya ay may premonition ng kanyang kamatayan dahil sa sumunod na araw noong June 20, sumulat siya ng 2 liham ng kanyang tinatakan na nakasulat sa bawat sobre na bubuksan pagkatapos ng aking kamatayan. So, binigay niya ito sa kanyang kaibigan na si Dr. Marquez para sa pag-iingat sa mga pahina ng kasaysayan ay halos walang pagkakatulad ang 2 selyadong liham na ito na halos mga pampolitikang testamento ni Rizal. The first letter addressed to my parents, brethren, and friends is as follows. The affection that I have ever processed for you suggests this step and time alone can tell whether or not it is sensible. The outcome judges these things according to the consequences, but whether the result be favorable, unfavorable, it may always be said that duty are me, so if I die in doing, it will not matter. I realize how much suffering I have caused you, yet I do not regret what I have done. Rather, if I had to begin over again, I should do just the same, for what I have done has been only in pursuit of my duty. Gladly do I go to expose myself to peril, not as an expiation of deeds, for in this matter I believe myself guiltless or any but to complete my work, and so that I myself may offer the example of each I have always present. So, ang mga unang ginawa ni Rizal na liham para sa aking mga naliham ay ang aking mga magulang, kapatid at kaibigan. Ito ay ang mga pagmamahal na ipinahayag ko para sa iyo ay nagmumungkay ng akbang na ito. At oras lamang ang makapagsasabi kung ito ay makatwiran o hindi. Ang kinalabasan ay umahatol sa mga bagay ayon sa mga kahitnan, ngunit kung ang result ay pabor o hindi ka nais-nais, ay maaaring palaging sabihin na ang tungkulin ay humimok sa akin, kaya kung ako'y mamatay sa paggawa nito ay hindi malaga. So, na-realize niya kung gaano kalaki ang paghihirap na idulot ko sa iyo, ngunit hindi ko pinagsiyan na aking nagawa. Bagkus kung kailangan mong magsimula muli ay dapat kong gawin gayon din, sapagkat ang aking ginawa ay para lamang sa pagtupad sa aking mga tungkulin. So, masaya akong pumunta upang ilantad ang aking sarili sa panganib, hindi bilang kabayaran sa mga maling gawain, sapagkat sa bagay na ito ay naniniwala ako sa aking sarili na walang kasalanan, ngunit upang tapusin ang aking gawain at upang ako sa aking sarili ay makaalok ng mga alimbawang palagi kong ipinangaral. A man out to die for duty and his principle, I told fast to every idea which I have advanced as to the condition and future of our country, and shall willingly die for it, and even more willingly sacrifice to secure justice and peace for you. So, ang isang tao ay dapat mamatay para sa tungkulin at sa kanyang mga prinsipyo. Sinabi ko nang mabilis ang bawat idea na aking isinulong tungkol sa kalagayan at kinabukasan ng ating bansa. At kusang loob na mamatay para dito, at mas kusang loob na isakripisyo ang lahat upang matiyak ang katarungan at kapayapaan para sa iyo. So, ang kasiyaan kung gayon ay isinasapanganib ko ang buhay upang iligtas ang napakaraming inosenteng tao, napakaraming mga pamangkin at napakaraming anak ng mga kaibigan at mga anak din ng iba na hindi man lang ang mga kaibigang nagdurusa sa aking account. Ako 17, isang bachelor, halos walang pamilya at sapat na hindi nalinlang sa buhay. Ako ay nagkaroon ng maraming pagkabigo at ang hinaharap sa harap ko ay madilim. At maging madilim kung ang liwanag ay hindi naliliwanag sa bukang liwayway ng isang magandang araw para sa sariling lupain. Sa kabilang banda, maraming mga tao na puno ng pag-aasa at ambisyon na marahil ay magiging mas masaya kung ako ay namatay, at pagkatapos ay umasa akong ang aking mga kaaway at masiyaan huminto sa paghuhusig sa napakaraming ganap na inosenteng mga tao ay isang tiyak na lawang ang kanilang pagkamuhi ay makatwirang gaya ng sarili at sa aking mga magulang at mga kamag-anak. Should fate go against me, you will all understand that I shall die happy in the thought that my death will end all your troubles, return to our country, and may you be happy in it. Till the last moment of my life, I shall be thankful of you and wishing you all good fortune and happiness. The second letter is addressed to the Filipinos is as follows. The step which I am taking, or rather am about to take, is undoubtedly risky and it is unnecessary to say that I have considered it for some time. I understand that almost everyone is opposed to it, but I know also that hardly anybody else understands what is in my heart. I cannot live or seeing so many offer unjust persecution on my account. I cannot bear the sight of my sister and their numerous families treated like criminals. I prepare date and cheerfully shall relinquish life to free so many innocent persons from such unjust persecution. I appreciate the fact that present the future of our country gravitates in some degree around me, that at my date many will feel triumphant and many are now wishing for my fall, but what of it? I hold duties of conscience above all else. I have obligations to the families who suffered, to my parental whose sight strikes me to the heart. I know that I alone only with my death can make them happy, returning them to their native land and to peaceful life at home. I am all my parents have, but our country as many more sons who can take my place and even though my work better. So, kung ang tadhana daw ay laban sa akin, maunawaan ninyong lahat na mamatay akong masaya sa pag-iisip sa kamatayan ko, ang magwawakas sa lahat ng iyong mga problema at bumalik ka sa ating bansa at naway maging masaya ka rito. Hanggang sa huling sandali ng aking buhay ay isipin kita at hilingin sa iyo ang lahat ng magandang kapalaran at kaligayahan. Ang ikalawang liham para sa mga Pilipino ay ang mga sumusunod na ang hakbang na gagawin ko o sa halip ay gagawin ko ay walang alinlangan na mapanganib at hindi kailangan sabihin na pinag-isipan ko ito ng ilang panahon. Naintindihan ko na halos lahat ay sumasalungat dito, ngunit alam ko rin na halos din maunawaan ng iba ang nasa puso ko. Hindi ako mabubuhay kapag nakikita ko ang napakaraming hindi makatarungan pag-uusig sa aking account. Hindi ko kayang makikita ang aking mga kapatid at ang kanilang maraming pamilya na tratuhin na parang mga kriminal, lalo na ang mga kapatid kong babae. Mas gusto ko si Desh at masayang isuko ang buhay para palayain ang mga napakaraming inosenteng tao mula sa hindi makaturunang pag-uusig. At pinampahalagaan ko ang katotohanan na sa kasalukuyan, ang kinabukasan ng ating bansa ay sumisiklab sa ilang antas sa paligid ko na sa aking kamatayan ay maraming makadrama ng pagtatagumpay at sa gayon marami na ngayon ang nagnanais ng aking pagbagsak. Ngunit ang tungkol dito ay pinanghahawakan ko ang mga tungkulin ng budi. Higit sa lahat ay mayroon akong mga obligasyon sa mga pamilyang nagdurusa, sa mga aking matanda na magulang na ang paningin ay tumatama sa aking puso. Alam kong ako lang sa aking kamatayan lamang ang magpapasya sa kanila na may babalik sila sa kanilang sariling lupain at sa isang mapayapang buhay sa taanan. Ako lang ang mayroong sa aking mga magulang, ngunit ang ating bansa ay may marami pang mga anak na lalaki na maaring pumalit sa akin at kahit na gawin ang aking trabaho ng mas mahusay. Bukod sa nais kong ipakita sa mga tumatanggi sa atin ng biyaya ng pagiging makabayan ng marunong tayong mamatay para sa tungkulin ng mga prinsipyo, ano ang kahalagaan ng kamatayan kung ang isang tao ay mamatay para sa kanyang minamahal, para sa sariling lupain at mga nilalang na minamahal? Besides, I wish to show those who deny us the bone of patriotism that we know how to die for duty and principle. What matters death if one dies for what one loves, for native land and being held dear. Dahil sa nais kong ipakita sa mga tumatanggi sa atin ng mga biyayang pagiging makabayan na marunong tayong mamatay para sa ating tungkulin at mga prinsipyo, ano ang kahalagaan ng kamatayan kung ang isang tao ay mamatay para sa kanyang minamahal, para sa sariling lupain at mga nilalang na minamahal. If I thought that I were that only resource for the consummation of policy of progress in the Philippines, and where I convinced that my countrymen were going to make use of my services, perhaps I shall hesitate about taking this step, but there are others who can take my place, who can do my work to advantage. Furthermore, there are perchance those who told me as an unnecessary being, and so my services are not utilized and I am reduced to inactivity. So, kung inaakala kong ako lang ang taong tanging mapagkukunan para sa katuparan ng isang patakaran ng pagunlad sa Pilipinas at kumbinsado na gagamitin ng aking mga kababayan ang aking mga serbisyo, marahil ay dapat akong mag-atubiling gawin ang mga hakbang na ito. Ngunit may mga iba na maaaring pumalit sa aking lugar na maaaring gawin ang aking trabaho. Para kalamangan at higit pa dito ay may mga taong nagtuturo sa akin bilang isang hindi kinakailangan nila lang, at sa gayon ang mga serbisyo ay hindi nagagamit at ako ay naging hindi aktibidad. Always have I loved our unhappy land, and I am sure that I shall continue loving until my last moment, in case many prove unjust to me, my career, my life, my happiness, all I have sacrificed for love of it, whatever my fate, I shall die blessing in it and longing for dawn of its redemption. On June 21, 1892, Rizal penned another letter in Hong Kong for Governor Despujol, indentally third letter to the disortious Spanish chief executive. In this letter, he informed the Governor General of his coming to Manila and placed himself under the protection of the Spanish government. On the same date, June 21, Rizal and his sister Lucia, widow of Herbosa, left Hong Kong for Manila. They carried a special passport or safe conduct issued by the Spanish Consul General in Hong Kong. Lagi kong minamahal ang aking malungkot na lupain at natitiyak kong patuloy kong mamalin ito hanggang sa aking uling sandali. Kung sakaling mapatunayan hindi makatarungan ang mga tao sa akin, ang aking karera, ang aking buhay, ang aking kaligayang, at ang lahat ng aking isinakripisyo para sa pag-ibig na ito, anuman ang aking kapalaran, ay mamatay akong pinagpala ito sa nanabik sa bukang liwayway ng kanyang pagtubos. So, noong June 21, 1892, si Rizal ay nagsulat ng isa pang liham sa Hong Kong para kay Gobernador Despujol, na nagtaon ay ang kanyang ikatlong liham na walang galang na punong tagapagpaganap ng Espanyol. Sa liham na ito ay pinaalam niya na ang Gobernador General ang kanyang pagdating sa Manila ay nilagay ang kanyang sarili sa ilalim ng proteksyon ng mga pamahalang Espanyol. Sa same date, noong June 21, si Rizal at ang kanyang kapatid na si Lucia, balo ni Herbosa, ay umalis sa Hong Kong patungong Manila. dala nila ang special na passport or safe conduct na inisyu ng Spanish Consul General sa Hong Kong. Rizal falls into Spanish trap immediately after Rizal's departure from Hong Kong. The Spanish Consul General, who issued the government guarantee of safety, sent a cablegram to Governor Despujol that the victim is the trap. On the same day, June 21, 1892, a secret case was filed in Manila against Rizal and his followers for anti-religious and anti-patriotic agitation. The deceitful Despujol ordered his secretary, Luis de la Torre, to find out if Rizal was naturalized as a German citizen, as one rumored, so that he might take proper action against one who had the protection of a strong nation. Meanwhile, Rizal and his sister were peaceful cruising in the China Sea. They were fully unaware Spanish duplicity. Nahulog si Rizal sa bitag sa Espanyol. Kaagad pagkatapos ng pag-alis ni Rizal sa Hong Kong ay nagpadala ng kablegram kay Gobernador Despujol, ang konsul ng General ng Espanyol, na nagbigay ng guarantee ng kaligtasan ng pamahalaan na ang biktima ay nasa bitag nung araw din ng June 21, 1892 sa isang lihim na kaso ang isinampa sa Manila laban kay Rizal at sa kanyang mga tagasunod para sa anti-reliyoso at anti-makabayan na kaguluhan. Si La Torre upang alamin kung si Rizal ay naturalisado bilang isang mamamayang Aleman gaya ng nabalitaan upang makagawa siya ng tamang aksyon laban sa isang na may proteksyon ng isang malakas na bansa. Samantala si Rizal at ang kanyang kapatid na babae ay mapayapang tumawid sa dagat sa China. Hindi nila lubos na nalalaman ang pandarayan ng mga Espanyol. So, yun lang po. Thank you.